Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Hey, you guys. Happy Friday. It is Friday in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are coming to you live from Bryant Commercial Real Estate. Hope you guys had a great week. I know that there was a new year, so we extend New Year blessings to you guys as well. So, wanted to touch base with you guys. As we mentioned last week, we were on, we weren't here. We were actually on location and discussed kind of things that we need to do in regards to location and marketing. And today I wanted to kind of reach out to you guys, as this week we have been focused on helping businesses identify locations throughout the valley and understanding what it takes in order to identify the location that you're looking for and what is that process. Why, we of course talk about why you need representation, but more importantly, what things should you guys focus on when you say, hey, I like this building, right? So I wanted to kind of reach out to you guys and talk to you in regards to what is the process. Do you start with an LOI, or do you do some due diligence work and help you understand what your improvement costs are, the time frame to build out the space? So I wanted to just jump right in from that standpoint. So we are working with a Chinese restaurant user, and we have identified a location for them. And so the steps of the process before we write a proposal is bringing the team in, right? So it's the architect and a general contractor, so that we understand what their needs are and what their improvement costs are in regards to opening their Chinese restaurant. So what we've done, and we'll be doing early part of next week, is the plans have been turned over to the architect so that they understand what the existing build out of the space is. Unfortunately, this is not a former restaurant space, so we are starting from scratch. So there's things that we need to identify in order to say, will this site work? First, it's going to be the zoning, and we actually highlighted some of those points in our leasing tips a couple of weeks ago. Secondly, first and foremost, it's the zoning. Secondly, is the building fire sprinklered, and what are the rough ends that we have available that are in the building right now that will be to the advantage of the restaurant. So it's fire sprinklered, and they also have gas that's running to the rear of the building. There are no plumbing, there's no rough end for the plumbing, so that's going to be a challenge for us, and which is why we want the architect to come out and identify what their needs are for the build out. So the architect is going to come in and evaluate the site. We're looking at the restrooms, and then we'll understand what their design scope is, and because they have established locations, it's going to be easier for us to provide that information in the build-out specs in regards to their kitchen design and equipment specifications to the general contractor once the architect has that design laid out. So as you guys can tell, there's a process in regards to when you find a space. Restaurants are different from Pilates studios. Pilates studios are different from a hair salon. But nonetheless, these are all steps in the process in regards to identifying the space and what is required in order to get the space open and get your business operating in a timely manner. So, once we identify the challenges and the things that we need from a construction standpoint, we then come up with a budget. It's not all the way to the penny, but it is an estimate based upon what the architect provides to the GC for pricing in regards to estimating the build out. It's imperative that we know this information because, and prior to lease negotiations and our LOI, because it's easier for us to have an idea of what the budget is in regards to the improvements. Secondly, it helps us identify what we should ask for in regards to tenant improvement allowance for the landlord contribution if they're willing to contribute towards TIs. The other portion of this is knowing what the time frame is to build the space out, because that's called our fixturization period. And during that time, typically there's no rent that's being paid, and which is why we call it a fixturization period. But we want to identify what that time frame is so that when we do provide a letter of intent to start negotiating a deal, we completely are confident in regards to the time it will take for you to open for business and complete your build out. From there, we want to be able to have all of that information because it actually shows the landlord that you understand what it's going to take, you've evaluated the cost for your construction, you have the capital to be able to perform the improvements, as well as the operating capital to get open and stay open for business. So it sounds like we're working backwards, but actually, and it is, but we're working forward. The more information that you have prior to your commitment to a building space, the more successful you will be. A lot of times we see businesses that don't take that diligent step in regards to understanding what their capital improvements are well enough in advance, and then once they get into negotiations and have agreed to terms, they determine that the costs have really kind of skyrocketed on them because a lot of times they kind of lean towards the safer side of a budget versus really truly understanding what the costs are for the improvements. So we've seen businesses kind of go into that situation, and there have been businesses that have not opened because they're undercapitalized for their improvement costs. So it's very important that you guys understand the steps in the process of why these things are important and why you should do them earlier in the stage than later, okay? So wanted to kind of give you guys an idea from that standpoint of why it is important to have these details in advance. It helps you in regards to the success of your business as well as staying within the budget, and whether it's something that you can afford to do or not, you know that early on. The goal is that the more educated that you are, the more successful you will be in the long term, which is why there's companies like us that are out here that focus on tenant representation and educating you as the business owner in regards to what this process is and why it's important to have this information. And if you don't have architect or contractors, we actually have several whom we work with and that we know and trust, and can bring them into your project early on to understand what those needs are for your business. So that, I think, is enough for today. It's a lot of information. And again, as always, if you guys have questions in regards to retail needs, office space needs, build out information, give us a call. It's very important that you guys are well equipped and in the know in regards to what's all required in regards to selecting space and why you should have representation that works on your behalf, because that's what we do. So I want you guys to have a great weekend. Stay tuned next week. I think we may have an architect or a GC to come in and speak a little more in detail in regards to things that they have encountered and things that will probably be information that you have not thought of or that you should think of. So until next week, you guys have a great weekend and look forward to seeing you then. Again, any questions, feel free to give us a call, 480-802-8100. Have a great weekend. Bye.